أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطاهرين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الحميد وقوله الحق أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال ربنا الذي أعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a great privilege to be with you for the second night in this series of lectures at Al-Qaim Islamic Mission from Slough. We started our discussion yesterday on the topic of providing the Islamic perspective on modern day issues. We highlighted the fact that quite often in our majalises, the focus is always on historical events and not bringing the relevant messages to the youth of today. Inshallah, over the next few nights, we'll discuss some of the topics, some of the issues that are often discussed in the youth groups, that are often discussed amongst them on their various chats. But quite often, there is never an Islamic viewpoint put forward based on the teachings of the Holy Ahlul Bayt. Today, inshallah, and over the next few nights, we'll try to present the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. As I highlighted yesterday, it's not that the answers don't exist, it's just that in our gatherings, we just tend not to discuss them. So let's try to put that record straight over the next few nights. Today's topic is, and I'll be honest with you, I struggled with what to describe it and how to explain it and how to sort of outline it. But I think before we kind of delve into sort of the various topics that we outlined yesterday, it's important to discuss a very fundamental question and a very basic question. And that is, who are we? Now, I know many of you are looking at me thinking, is he serious? He doesn't know who he is? We know who he is. We know where he lives, who his father is, who his mother is. But I don't mean in that sense. I mean the question I'm asking is in the sense of who and what are we genuinely, and how much thought have we given to that issue? Where have we come from? Where are we going? What are we? What is our role? What is our function? What are we supposed to do? That is the question that really we should be asking. It's a difficult question. Different thinkers, different religions, different teachers have approached the question in a lot of different ways. Today, I'd like to go and present the common arguments that we find amongst the youth today and in our society, and why the Quran actually highlighted some of these common answers and rejected them, and then go forth and put forward the teachings and the answer that the Quran provides. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this is an easy one, right? We were created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will be judged in the hereafter. I know. It sounds like an easy answer, but it's not. Trust me. There are challenges and there are thoughts that are put out there in the minds of the youth that challenge those basic principles, those basic ideas that many of us, when we were growing up, were taught from a very young age. Today's society poses some of the questions that 1400 years ago people posed. I want to start off with the verse of the Holy Quran from Surah Al-Jasiyah, Surah number 45, verse number 24. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse records the answer that we're getting today from many people. He says, and let's read the Arabic, he says, وَقَالُوا مَا هِيَ إِلَّا حَيَاتُنَا الدُّنْيَا نَمُوتُ وَنَحْيَا وَمَا يَخْلِقُنَا إِلَّا الدَّهْرُ وَمَا لَهُمْ بِذَلِكَ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِنَّهُمْ إِلَّا يَظَنُّونَ. And they say there is not but our worldly life. وَقَالُوا, and they, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is recording in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Jasiyah, Surah number 45, verse number 24. He records what most people are saying today. وَقَالُوا, and they say, مَا هِيَ, there is nothing. إِلَّا حَيَاتُنَا الدُّنْيَا, there is nothing in this life. نَمُوتُ وَنَحْيَا, we live, we die and we live. وَمَا يُحْلِكُونَ إِلَّا الدَّهْرِ, we die and we live, and nothing destroys us except time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds in that same verse, وَمَا لَهُمْ بِذَلِكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ, and they have of that no knowledge. هُمْ إِلَّا يَظَنُّونَ, they are only assuming. It's worth pondering on that verse. Is that an argument we've heard in our classrooms, in our lecture halls, with our work colleagues? It's an argument that we've heard over and over again. There is nothing. This is it. This is our life. This is the ultimate. Make the most of it. This is your life here. There's nothing that's to come in the hereafter. The only enemy we have is time. Decide how you want to devote your time. There's no beginning, there is a beginning and there's an end, and time is governing that beginning and end, but everything that we do is in this world. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala records the commonly held response. And this is why I say to the youth, whenever I'm giving a class, is the Holy Quran, in my humble opinion, was more relevant, is more relevant today than it was 1400 years ago. And we'll come on to another verse later on tonight, which also alludes to that point. Society is now is intellectually prepared to accept the Holy Quran. And it's a shame that we don't spend enough time in our own community. As I said yesterday, we have the jewels, the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. And it's a shame that we don't spend enough time with the teachings and the verses of the Holy Quran and the teachings and the hadiths of the Ahlul Bayt. We look elsewhere. So the Holy Quran is recording the answers that we are getting today in our workplaces, in our classrooms, in our schools, in our universities. And what is the answer? What is the response most people give? There is nothing but this worldly life. We die, we live. The only thing against us is time. If we could stop time, that's it. We'd live here forever. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's response is that they have no knowledge. They've not thought about it. The telling elements of this verse, and I would strongly encourage the youth to go and spend some time and read through the verse. But the telling element of this verse is the last three words of the verse. Hum illa yudhannun. They are they're only making an assumption. Dhan is making an assumption. It's attaching a probability. Dhan is attaching a probability to something. That is the dictionary definition. It is attaching a probability. I cannot be certain. Yaqeen is certainty, but I can attach a probability that it may be true. So how many of us are going to live our lives on an assumption? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have no knowledge. They're speaking out of tone. They have no knowledge. And by the way, their viewpoint is based on an assumption. Are we truly going to live our lives based on assumption that this world, this limited world, the beginning and end is it? That is it. There's nothing else. Can we truly base ourselves on a simple assumption and live our lives according to that simple assumption? No, would be the logical answer. No is the response that most reasonable human beings will provide. We can't. We need to understand where we came from, where we're going, and what our role and functions are. We need to understand those things. There is another view. So the first view is we're here, we don't know why, we're born, we'll die, we're just going to make the most of our time here, right? That's one perspective. The second perspective, which takes a similar view, But in here, there's a bit of science that comes in to make it academically and intellectually more sustainable. And that says that actually we are a product of an accident. We're coming together of different elements in the creation of the universe. As things collided and as they expanded, the Big Bang Theory, life was created here by accident. And that accident over time evolved into us, human beings, animals. And over time, we evolved our intellect. So therefore, again, comes back to this idea that we are simply an accident. I don't know what you'd like to, what your thoughts are, but the thought that I'm an accident and my existence is an accident and we're here by pure chance doesn't really doesn't sit comfortably with me. And to say, and if you ask the scientists, I mean, there was a wonderful program on the BBC about the planets where they talk about our universe and how it was created, how it came about from a scientific perspective. They attach that probability, I can't remember the exact number, they attach the probability of the chance of an Earth-like planet existing out there and life being created. The things that had to come together for that to have happened are statistically very minute, which suggests again that there was a design, there was a purpose. We were put here for a reason. So we weren't an accident. So this idea that we came, we are, and this life has no meaning, just make the most of it, doesn't hold tight. This idea that we're just merely an accident and we're on this earth as an accident, again, make the most of it and there's nothing to worry about. You're an accident, you're lucky to have existed. Doesn't hold tight. We can quite easily reject those ideas. There is another theory which even the Western philosophers and thinkers have dismissed nowadays, is the theory of evolution. The reason we exist, the reasons we're here is we've evolved. We are the strongest species that have outlived and outgrown everyone else. And therefore that is why we're on this earth. Again, from an Islamic perspective, I don't have to answer it because the Western philosophers are beginning to dismiss the idea as it is. This idea that we've evolved from monkeys, from a germ to a monkey to what we are today. There is no scientific proof. It's just purely a theory of evolution. There's absolutely no scientific proof. So again, it's not my topic. I don't want to dwell on it. But if anyone does have any questions, happy to take those offline. There is another idea, another notion that is increasingly prevalent, and I think we will see it become more and more dominant over the next few years. That is the idea that there is a sense, a creator, a force out there, but that force, that creator is Mother Nature, and that we are free from any restrictions Mother Nature will impose on us. Okay, Mother Nature has its own existence. A lot of these ideas actually are very old ideas. A lot of them stem from Buddhism and Hinduism, but that the world exists. The world of Mother Nature has brought the world into existence. So they acknowledge there is a being independent of us that's brought us into existence. But now we are free to do whatever we want. In actual Hindu scriptures, you find that the God created, and his sole job, his only job, is to move the soul from one life to another life. So when they die, they're reborn as a different person, and that's God's role, is to do that. So again, it's taken God out of the picture. Okay? So all of these ideas exist, and the reason I'm going through them is to make sure that you're aware that these ideas exist. And almost for the adults, for them to appreciate the fact that these ideas exist, they are discussed quite openly. The question then becomes, what is the Islamic response? What is Islam's response? about creation? And does Islam actually provide an answer as to who we are, what we'll come on to, and what our objectives are, we'll come on to in the next few nights, but who we are. So let me point you to Surah Al-Isra, Surah number 17, verse number 85. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ويسألونك عن الروح قل الروح من أمر ربي وما أوتيتم من علم إلا قليلا. In this verse, in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to a question that's been raised to the Holy Prophet. They will ask thee concerning the Spirit, or they ask thee concerning the Spirit. Say, the Spirit is by command of Allah, and of knowledge you have but a little. So they ask you about the ruh, the soul. That's me and you. قُلْ ruh min amri rabbi. The ruh is from the order, from the command of your Lord. وَمَا أُوتِيتُمْ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. But we've only granted a little knowledge to you. Now you may say, hold on a minute, that doesn't answer any of the questions. That just raises a bunch of other questions. You're saying that that if we do ask you who we are you souls? What are our souls? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's response is, well, it's from me, it's my command, and I have given you very little knowledge about it. Doesn't really answer the question, does it? But it does. Because the people of the time weren't ready for the answers. And the answers were provided. And they were very dismissive, and their knowledge was not up to that level. Now, the reason I've outlined all of the previous arguments was for that very reason, that now people are thinking about these topics and these subjects in a lot of depth. And they're writing about them. And they're doing a lot of academic research and a lot of physical research and a lot of biological research, trying to prove one idea over the other. But one thing, and one area of research that it has provided very limited answers is this idea of the soul. A lot of experiments have been done, a lot of science and time has been devoted to it, but no one has really been able to answer, what is the soul? Does it mean to be alive? At what point were we alive? What point did we exist? And at what point do we stop existing? We can observe when the body becomes alert and awake in the mother's womb, and when we die and the body becomes still. Because we observe it with our eyes, with our touch. We can put monitors on, we can see the heart beating, we can see the mind through various scans they've developed, we can see the mind active. We can see all of that. But what we can't see is when the soul stops, when the body stops, what happens to the soul? Because we are looking in a physical realm for an answer that doesn't belong there. Are we ready for the answer? And I would say we probably are ready for the answer. I would say that yes, we should be provided the answer. So who's going to provide that answer? Now, if I say to you that the answer is in a dua, you'd look at me, if you were sitting in an audience in front of me, bemused, almost laughing. What, in a dua? But I'm telling you, the answer is in a dua, in a supplication. And the supplication is if Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, whose martyrdom we're here to commemorate, it's in his dua Arafah. And I'll be honest with you, I recite the dua like everyone else. Recite it as quickly as possible, get it finished. So we've done that amal, then go on to the next amal, then go on to the next amal. But this is the first time that I actually paid attention to the translation. I actually devoted my time. And then when I heard the words, they struck something inside me. And it was like, why haven't I noticed these things before? My God, what is the Imams telling us in this supplication? So I want to finish today with this application, and inshallah over the next few nights we'll provide an Islamic perspective on what it is who or what we are, what is our existence. You'll hear some of it in this application, inshallah, as we recite it to finish the lecture. But we'll, inshallah, provide some clarity on that. And as I said, over the next few nights, we'll talk about some of the sort of social, economic, and political debates that are going on today, and make sure that we provide an Islamic perspective. So, Dua Arafat. This is the dua of Imam Hussein. Okay. Towards the beginning of the dua, the Imam says, وَاشْهَدُوا بِرُبُوبِيَّتِكَ لَكَ. And I testify to the Lordship of you. مُقَرَّكَ بِأَنَّكَ رَبِّي, confessing that you are verily my Lord. وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكَ مَرَدِّي, and you shall be my return. So the Imam says, testifies that you are my Lord, I will return to you. But now the Imam describes how the journey began. In a dua, in a supplication. Spend some time on these supplications. Don't just read them quickly. Just spend some time on the supplications. ابتدعني بنعمتك. My beginning, بنعمتك, was from your blessing. It was from your bestowing on me. My beginning. When was my beginning? قبل أن أكون شيئا مذكورا. Before I was anything worth mentioning. My beginning was before anything was worth mentioning. Before I even existed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had this idea of me, or had me. It's very difficult to describe, but before anything I even existed, and I'm talking metaphorically, in Allah's mind, I existed. I existed. I've always existed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The thought of me. وَخَلَقْتَنِي مِنَ التُّرَابِ, and you created me from dust. So the point of creation is dust. But this is the beautiful bit. The next bit was the one, the really eye-opening for me. ثم اسكنتني الصلاب. You then put me in the loins of my forefathers. So before I took the form that I am today, I existed. And today's science is now beginning to prove that that my creation predates me, because my chromosomes, my DNA existed before me. My DNA existed well before me. I've inherited DNA from my father and from my mother. And that is what I am formed of. Imam Hussein on the day of Arafat is reciting a supplication where he's alluding to this. Saying, I was bestowed, my creation came into existence by your mercy, but you bestowed that. You knew me before anyone, anything, and anyone else did. So my whole life that I'm devoting in this world to making my name known to this person and that person, or go and spend some time, get to make sure they know your name, becomes irrelevant. The relevance is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does he know? Yes, of course, he created you. But how much time have we devoted towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How much time do we devote to the being that brought us into existence? آمن لا ريب المانون. And then you saved me in there, then you kept me in there, you preserved me in there for time. واختلاف الدهر والسنين, and change of ages and years. So I existed thousands of years ago. From the time of Hazrat Azam, you came into existence. It's what Imam Hussein is saying. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll touch on a few more hadiths on this topic. So you've existed from thousands and thousands of years. You existed in a different form, but you existed. Your name, your entity, your existence, your soul was known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before he became known in this world, you were known to him. Why would we not devote and do the ibadat of that entity? فَلَمْ زَلْ ضَائِنًا مِنْ صُلْبٍ إِلَى رَحْمٍ. And I was moving from my forefathers into the mother's womb. And from there, the birth process he alludes to. So the Imam in his dua, in his supplication, is telling us that you've existed and your soul has existed for thousands of years. And today's science is telling us that we can possibly recreate you physically, your physical attributes by the DNA of your mother and your father. So there's something that you get from your mother and father, the basic building blocks, the basic instructions, which is what the DNAs are, that helps create you. But it can't answer the question of the soul. So my dear brothers and sisters, I want us to ponder on that. I want us to ponder on the fact that there is in the supplication that we read as fast as we can on the day of Arafat, there are answers. Ya Ahl al-Bayt, Quran and Ahl al-Bayt have answered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, yes, the ruh is from my command. What is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He can create something from nothing. Kun fayakun. And you and I were nothing, and He put us into existence. And that is why we need to devote ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to His worship, because He is worthy of that worship. Without Him, we wouldn't exist, even though we spend all of our time devoting all of our energy to pleasing other people around us in this world. They can't do anything for us. They can't do anything for us. But the one who created us, the one who remembered us before He even made us, we spend very little time. We don't have any time. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to leave you with that thought. Think of the Creator who put you here and who made you and brought you into existence thousands of years ago. Don't fall for this trap that this is the world, just enjoy it, make the most of it. There's nothing in the hereafter. Because it's a probability. It's a probability. You want to live and die by a probability, but you want to move towards yaqeen and certainty. My dear youth, inshallah, go away, look at Dua Arafat. Just the first few pages. Read the English. And then remember our holy Imam, who sacrificed everything to remind us of who we really are. He sacrificed everything. Inshallah, we shall continue this subject and this discussion tomorrow. But remember our holy Imam and remember this supplication of his. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.